Well, let's get more on this now. An analysis by Saida Ali, the Executive Director of the Coalition on Violence Against Women, joining me here in Nairobi. Welcome to Africa Live. Now, what's the expectation, though, on that 16 days of activism?
Basically, there's a focus on three sub-themes. One around state accountability in addressing violence against women. The second one, the need to address conflict-related violence against women, especially cases of mass rapes and using sexual crimes as war crimes. And then the third one is a focus on domestic violence with emphasis on the need to address the issue of small arms presence at the family level, because then it exposes women to more danger in terms of risks of domestic violence.
Well, a lot has been documented on gender-based violence, though, in South Africa, in Kenya, in Eastern DRC. How widespread, though, is it across the continent?
The situation is quite dire. When you look at Kenya, for instance, 1 in 3 women have admitted to have gone through either physical or sexual violence. According to research that was done by WHO, the highest rates of intimate partner violence, 71% prevalence, was found in a rural part of Ethiopia, which is in Africa. The least prevalence was in Japan. Which means perhaps there are efforts in other parts of the world to actually address it and to have state accountability that also ties to the need to address impunity, both at a state level and at citizens level. Then you have places such as South Africa, where every 30 minutes a woman is raped. Then you look at situations of conflict such as DRC, Darfur, and on a daily basis, when you combine the cases in Darfur and DRC, it's about 1,000 women raped on a daily basis.
When you look at, though, the contributory factors, though, leaving aside the war zone, the conflict areas like Eastern DRC and Darfur, as you mentioned, the contributory factors across the continent, what would those be?
I think generally, and part of what we are focusing on during 16 days is the issue of militarism. And this has nothing to do with the conflict itself. It's a mindset that actually elevates a certain form of being, you know, addressing situations by using violence. So a rise in militarization, the issue of culture, which is across board, and how cultural practices are used to justify violence against women, and the need to, or the silencing of women that speak out or want to speak out about it. But one more thing also is around the criminal justice system. And this is a problem across board. When women report and nothing happens, then it becomes a situation that makes women not report. And some women will stay in violence or in abusive relationships because of dependency as a result of not being economically independent. So there are many factors, but we emphasize that there is need to have state accountability as well.
All right, just stay with us there, Saida, for the moment. As CCTV's Jane Keo is also joining us there from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Jane, we have been talking about what's been documented from the Eastern DRC, particularly in relation to gender-based violence, though. The DRC has been embroiled in war, in conflict. How has that violence, though, affected the women there?
Well, Beatrice, as you can imagine, it certainly had a huge and critical effect, given that this is an area that has known no peace. In fact, that's why some people will often say that this is one of the worst places to be a woman. And the figures speak for themselves. The statistics speak for themselves. More than 7,000 cases of violence against women, particularly rape, were reported last year alone. According to the UN, those figures have certainly risen this year because of the recurring violence. Now, according to the victims, most of those who commit these crimes are armed men from whatever rebel group or Congolese soldiers. Remember, FRDC, the government soldiers, have been on the spot because of this. Only last week we had 39 soldiers, Congolese soldiers, go on trial because of rape charges against 130 women in Minova here in Eastern DRC. And Beatrice, I have to say, it's also imagine that rape is no longer just a weapon of war here in DRC. It's somewhat a society, a community problem where women women are just seen as object, and that's why it comes as no surprise that the DRC has been chosen as one of the 5 countries in this 16-day campaign. Beatrice?
Jane, would you say, though, that authorities have been doing enough to end the violence and bring culprits to book there in the DRC?
Well, Beatrice, many are of the opinion that authorities haven't actually done much to curb the vice. And in fact, as we speak, many of the cases still go unreported. And this has to do with a problem within the system, right from the bottom all the way through to the judiciary. And largely because the major impediment in all this is corruption within the system, many will still be protecting one of their own. But that case of the 39 soldiers last week, the trial of the 39 soldiers last week has raised hopes that maybe the government is finally putting its act together, is finally trying to gain the confidence of the people in dealing with this vice that has been a problem here in Eastern DRC for the longest time, following that defeat or the routing out of the M23 rebels by the government soldiers. Beatrice?
And you mentioned there, though, that gender-based violence has become a part of society life there in the DRC. What's the public reaction, though? What is at their doorstep? What can they do?
Well, Beatrice, like I said, some of them will report these cases, others will hold them back because of what has happened in the past. Once they go and report the cases, whether to the authorities, whether to the police, whether they take someone to court, nothing will be done about it. In fact, say for that case of the 39 soldiers that was done here in Goma last week, that is the only sign that they've seen of the government actually trying to deal with this case in the last in recent times. So that has raised hopes that the government is actually trying to do something in regards to rape here in Eastern DRC. And right now, many people are enjoying a season of peace, hoping that this is a problem that will be curbed once and for all. Beatrice?
All right. Saida, just coming to you on that point that Jane has made there, the government is trying to do a lot there in Eastern DRC. Across the continent, though, is there a feeling generally that national policies are taking this into consideration?
I think there is not just a feeling, but the fact that governments are making an effort. And it's not just individual governments, but also at the African Union level. We have the Maputo Protocol that actually specifically talks about protection and the need for state members in Africa to take measures to protect women from violence against women at different times, whether conflict or non-conflict times.
All right. Saida Ali, Executive Director at the Coalition on Violence Against Women, joining us here in studio. Thank you.